This is WOMMLP operating out of Burlington, Vermont, 105.9 The Radiator. Good evening, it is The Rocket Shop. I'm your host, Tom Proctor. With me tonight is Jacob Green with Nathan Michaud. How close did I get it, Nathan?
Way off, my friend.
Oh, damn it. I had it all set in my mind. Nathan, what is your second name?
Michaud.
Michaud. Jacob Green with Nathan Michaud. Hello, gentlemen. How's it going?
Hey, my last name's easy, so thanks for having me back.
Thank you for coming back in, Jacob. I really appreciate you you moseying on into the studio. We always like to kick it off with a song, so what have you two got for us?
Cool. This is kind of one I normally do as a one-man band, but I figured might as well do a version with Nathan tonight since he's here. This is on my resonator slide guitar. This is called When Peace Comes Back Around. Peace come back around, trust is gonna shake this ground, break up this oligarchy, wake up this entire country. When justice makes its round, trust is gonna make that sound of our dying fathers, victims of warmongers, return to the deepest roots. We seek the truth, much thicker smoke screen. No justice, no peace. All need some salvation, but for some, for a nation. That day is coming soon, when we shall all bloom, when peace come back around. So much fear being pushed and released. We can't see clear through this filter or screen. It shapes our thoughts, our views and beliefs. We must break free and get back to peace. When we can take a stand, take back this sacred land, we'll see who's a true believer, true frequency receiver. We can't have strength in numbers when we keep looking under the ground and concrete. Roots will break through the street, respect to all the natives. Souls of ancient, true belief in equality, free for all and all free. With so much misinformation, generations to fix this broken system, but must have hope and wisdom when peace come back around. With so much fear being pushed and released, we must break free, get back to peace. It shapes our thoughts, our views and beliefs. We must break free and get back to peace. When peace comes back around, when peace comes back around. When peace comes back around, when peace comes back around.
Jacob Green and Nathan Michaud there with Peace Comes Back Around. So Jacob, as you said, you usually kind of perform as a solo artist. You're in here with Nathan tonight. What's the relationship between you two?
Predominantly a one-man band like I was last time I was here. But, back when we were performing live more, we would perform about half the shows as a duo as well. Let me catch my breath here. Quite a little workout. And any, bigger events, bigger shows, especially, outdoor events, we play as a full band. We have a bass, a drummer, me and Nathan, lead guitar, and occasionally we'll have a violin player who joins in us as well, so...
I see. And in that instance, you're Jacob Green and Friends. Is that the
I guess,
manifests?
yeah, we're kind of just going by Jacob Green Band
Yeah.
or a duo. We just like tonight, we just list both of our names.
Got it.
Nathan actually does his own kind of like solo
Semi-instrumental,
experimental rock
yeah.
loop thing.
Yeah, Nathan, want to tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, I am a blues player of sort, but definitely more modern.
Mm-hmm.
And I've currently working on a side project, reinvention. Pandemic's been great
Yeah.
for that end, and going on a more adult contemporary, but organic with electronic, both together.
Okay. A little bit Sylvan SOE,
Pink Floydish.
bit more Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
In a different level.
Almost
Okay, I
like
see.
meets I always say like Floyd meets Cohen sort of
Yeah.
thing, like the later
Okay.
Cohen, if you know what I mean, like the.
I got you.
He always brings like that good lead that I always feel is lacking when I'm, doing something. It's a little more simple, I suppose. So.
And Jacob, how's the pandemic been for you? I mean, you've come out of an album in this time, so it must have
Yeah.
been pretty decently creative.
Yeah, it was quite a transition because like I literally was going from like, music was my only job, so I was playing like 130, 150 shows a year for like 7-8 years. So at first, it's kind of a huge change in your life, but what I realized, I really got back to what I love doing, was just like recording and creating and working on things, and that's kind of how it all started. So in a sense, maybe all these years later, I'm that much better at like editing, mixing, and recording from my home studio. So yeah, really, the album I just put out, No End in Sight, it's I've probably been working on it since at least late March or early April of 2020. So right when the lockdown hit, and it's just like a consistent, constantly recording. And I mean, there's 13 songs. I would say probably 20 songs were recorded for it. So
Do you have your own studio?
yeah, I so basically, the summer of 2019, I recorded in 2 different studios with a drummer. So I recorded like 30 different drum tracks. So I had all the drums recorded at a professional studio. So then at my home studio, I could just take my time, re-recording vocals, doing guitar parts, do most of my bass lines. And actually this one, I do a good amount of lead myself with the electric guitar, but then I also have people like Nathan. He only lives about 20 minutes from me, so he recorded a lot of stuff in my home studio. I had a guy out in Boulder, Colorado. He was like working in a studio, and he's incredible key player, so he plays like piano and organ. So I was just fortunate, like synced up. He was like looking for something to do too when he was, locked down, and he got on 3 songs from Colorado. And I got a really awesome background vocalist, Nina Peligra. She's out of Boston, and she was from her home studio too. So I think people are really, if you didn't have a home studio before the pandemic, you might have one now. And if you weren't good at it before, maybe you've kind of honed your skills a little. So
Yeah, I certainly heard that from a few people who either decided to take the plunge and shell out a bunch of cash, or got a lot more proficient at mixing and mastering their own music.
yeah.
I'll be interested to see what happens to these home studios post-COVID. I feel like there's an opportunity there to get cheaper studio space for upcoming musicians.
Absolutely. And there's just so much you can do from home with so many different mics and devices.
Right.
And I would say, so you guys were playing my previous Little Courage before this, and the full bands for that were all recording in a Boston studio. So I kind of had that to go off of as like a reference, like I must make my home studio sound as good as this sort of thing. So I like to say mission accomplished, but it's up to the listener.
So how many albums have you put out? What number is this one?
Well, yeah, I have way too many to count. But if you want to say, like, I guess professional, this would be the 3rd. And so 3 in the last 3 or 4 years. So, yeah.
Is there anything that you took from this particular album that you might do differently in the next album, or have you not even kind of got there yet? Or is there anything that you really kind of like you got really strong with that you'd be like, right, I'm gonna make sure this happens next time around?
Yeah, I think like what I always like to say is, I mean, with the previous album having, that professional studio aspect, I always thought that like that full band sound, even though I loved it, it was almost like
slightly cleaner than what I sound like live. So I feel like what I accomplished with my home studio, it's almost like the happy medium between what you get live and like, you know, something that's maybe a little too overproduced or clean in the studio. So I like to think like my full band songs have like a certain like rawness that's like trying to capture that live sound. And then still, anytime I do a one-man band song, I record it just like we are now, like in a live setting, and basically just pick the best take, so to speak. So.
Nathan, Nathan, you kind of nodded sagely there when Jacob said that he sounds a lot rawer than on his tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean that's really how it should be, though. You know, they tame us for studio, and live is where motion, sound, everything comes out.
Yeah. So have you been? I'm guessing you two have been recording in the same studio, and so you've been taking tracks from people who have been recording in their home studios, and then kind of, producing.
Yeah.
Your full record.
Yeah. So it's basically like I said, I had the drummer already recorded, and then the key player and the vocalist, they both recorded in their separate studios, and then sent me tracks. And like, I think Nathan's probably came over, I don't know, half a dozen times.
Yeah, 3-4 times.
At least in the last year. And we actually have like enough material to do like a whole nother album. So it's like, I almost have a problem of like having too many songs. So it's almost like picking what's the best to release. Or sometimes in the recording process, you realize, you know, maybe the song just didn't turn out how you want, or you're revamping something old and it didn't quite sound, you know, it didn't turn out like how you wanted it to sound. So it just doesn't get released or put it on the shelf, you know?
Right. Nathan, do you ever take any of the music you create with Jacob and can incorporate it into your own music, or is it kind of two entirely separate things?
It's kind of two entirely
I'd say
separate
different
things.
world, yeah.
I love my technology on top of, so I like to make technology sound organic. So this is how he carries. I come in, I've got MIDI gear, and everything kind of talks to each other, and I give you like almost live is almost like CD quality.
And so I'm curious as how you two, I mean, these are two very different kind of musical genres, how did you two kind of end up working together in the first place?
Well, I do have musical ADD though, so I play like anything and everything.
Yeah, well, we could actually say we both were solo acts booked at the it's called the Dixville Notch in Colebrook, New Hampshire. This was 2018.
Yeah.
And so we both, like, you know, I watched his set, which was like he was playing to either a backing track and doing crazy lead guitar or creating loops on the spot. And then he watches, you know, my solo set, like a one-man band, acoustic all at once. Definitely kind of different sides of the spectrum, but I think it was just like a good introduction. And then we didn't actually start playing together much.
About a year.
Yeah, a good year went by. And then when we started, it was just like...
yeah, it just took off.
Everything just clicked. And like I said, we probably were playing at least 2 or 3 shows a month together as a duo.
Yeah,
and then we do 1 or 2 big shows. A trio, full band. And he's basically probably the musician I play the most with, like, with the rest of the band members. So,
yeah.
But... I mean, honestly, even though he does some kind of space rock, he could rip it on the blues, man. Like
I love my blues.
He could rip the blues.
Yeah.
So even though, and you know, I love that sort of stuff too. It just naturally I don't create sort of the same thing, and you might naturally don't create, you know, the same thing I do. So
yeah, for sure. Well, we'd love to hear another song. Is this one from the new album as well?
Yeah, actually, everything we'll be playing tonight will be purposely from the new album, and I think last time I played everything from the old album, so maybe I'm doing things right here. All right, this is kind of a farmer blues song of sorts. It's called Down in the Dirt.
It's getting hard to tell real natural with a food-like substance in this artificial hill. Don't it make you feel worthless when you can't afford the purchase? Don't defeat the purpose. Gotta dig beneath the surface. Yeah, they try to make it hard, try to make it work. Tear the land apart, driving you berserk. Only true way to rejuvenate the earth. Gotta dig down in the dirt. The farmers of the future, they left for down and out without a resolution in a permanent drought. Tell me, will you panic? Nothing left organic, nothing on this planet that won't do your body damage. Yeah, they try to make it hard, try to make it work. Tear the land apart, driving you berserk. Only true way to rejuvenate the earth. Gotta dig down in the dirt. Yeah.
Down in the dirt there. So I've got to ask you, you're just putting that guitar away. It does have a giant hole in the front of it. So what's the story about this guitar and this hole? Because your other guitar clearly costs a great deal of money and is very beautiful. So there's a juxtaposition here.
Well, you know, funny enough, I got that used here in Burlington for $200. So
Oh,
let's
no
not
way.
go crazy. That was one of the traveling gods sent me something good. This one actually, it didn't come with a pick guard like most of your
Nor did it come
acoustics.
with a hole.
And you see, I play with finger picks, which
Yep.
two of them are metal. So it's literally like you're like shaving it, you know, little by little. And you know, there's been some shows where it's so intense you can see like wood dust. You know what I'm saying? And I'm
It's
trying
like a
to
little
think,
pile of shavings by your feet by the end of it.
A little bit of blood every once in a while.
with the exception of the last year, this was only developed like, I don't know, maybe like 3 years of 150 shows a year, just shaving that thing down, man.
Oh, so there wasn't like some accident where you dropped it or got in a fit of very punched it one night. That's literally just
Yeah.
shaved down by your finger picks.
So you could say like 2 years ago it was a smaller. Eventually it was like there wasn't a hole, it was just like the under layer of wood. And
Yeah.
so yeah, just naturally. I actually have an old black Ibanez that's even worse, like even bigger. So.
Is it a little bit like how some people keep holding their Converse for till they start rotting off their feet? Are you gonna be playing this until it's literally just the bones are left?
I don't know. It's actually the whole expand, but I think in a way it's probably projecting more sound. So that way it's good. But honestly, compared to my other acoustic, which I'm playing next, I prefer the tone of this one. I mean, what can you say? You know,
I mean, if you've
guitar
got
sounds right.
yeah, I mean, if you've got a good relationship with this guitar and you keep it going, I guess.
That is kind of like what people assume, like almost something bad happened to him. I'm like, no, I just been playing it. You know?
It's been worn down by love, you know,
Right.
not anger.
And not a whole lot of people play with finger picks, or I guess with metal ones, or unless you're a banjo player.
Yeah, well, thank you for
The
letting me know about
holiness
that one.
of guitars. Well, you can't see it on the radio. But.
I did find it funny that you came in with three guitars and one of them had a huge hole in it.
Oh, and they all are different tuning, so yeah.
Definitely thought there was a story there, but I quite like the explanation. So the new album's called No End in Sight. So do you want to explain a little bit about the title? Obviously, this sounds a little bit like I wrote this in the middle of a pandemic and it's never going to end. Was that the kind of intention behind the name?
Well, so yeah, I guess you could say, you know, and no end in sight. What does that mean? Kind of like endless, but it also is saying like, you know, we can be limitless in whatever we choose. And if you actually look at the cover, everything that's behind me, like I had this really awesome guy who did he did my comic book, so I also use images from the comic book and put them on the artwork. And so basically everything behind me is kind of like negative images, and there's actually at the bottom there's a little crow with the railroad crossing. That's kind of like a symbol of the crossroads. And then everything in front of me is like positive images. There's like a chain breaking the hate chain, like of hate. There's a heart symbol. There's like me playing the guitar, you know, music. And so it's kind of saying like, I guess like we're in some ways we're like way too extreme. You know, we can be limitless or endless in like way too negative or way too positive. And like the point is to kind of like recognize when you're being too much of either. And hopefully, obviously, you're being more positive. But I guess, yeah, it's just kind of saying like, may your creativity and positivity be endless or limitless, even though it's almost implying, just hearing the term no end in sight almost sounds like a negative term. But it's kind of like perspective, how you look at it. So
Yeah, for sure. Is there I mean, your first song that you sang this evening, When Peace Comes Back Around, that sounded very political, very cultural, very current events.
Yeah.
Does your music tend to have that kind of social justice messaging to it, or was this because of the time that you wrote it?
I would say my music always contains some, you know, song of that nature. It's not like everything I put out, obviously, but yeah, I definitely have many songs that are like social injustices, or similar to that last song, almost like environmental justice, you know, and whatnot. But yeah, When Peace Comes Back Around, specifically, on the last album I had a song called Break the Chain That Causes Hate. That ended up becoming a comic book. So the comic book has an EP, a CD, and Peace Comes Back Around is also on that. So basically the comic book is kind of like or the CD for it is giving you all those socially justice or injustice songs on one CD. So, and similar, I actually put out another EP that was, you know, I had the Down in the Dirt, a farmer song. So a collection of songs that's for environmental justice. So I try to like stick to a theme, but like when I put out an album, it's definitely like pretty diverse overall, kind of like messages of all sorts, you know.
Yeah.
Not limited to just one thing, but you know, I think it's also important to put out those type of songs, of course. So.
For sure. And how much so you worked for a solo artist for the longest time, being you know, one-man band. You also were Jacob Green and Friends, and then you've previously been Jacob Green and the Grit and the Grit as well. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, and then I had band River Water Tribe. Basically, I had like the Grit and the River Water Tribe were my Wisconsin-based bands. That's where I'm originally from. And for a long time, when I used to just, I'd always make it a point to tour back there. So I'm like always kind of constantly reuniting with them. And then, yeah, Jacob Green and Friends. That was I was living in California for 2 years. That was like kind of a result of people randomly jamming with my one-man band, and eventually we had like a 4 or 5 piece when we all got together, sort of thing. So I guess you could say the solo or the one-man band has always kind of took precedence, but I'm like always open collaborating and doing the band thing. And I mean, I love the sound of both. You know, I love the sound of something raw, acoustic and roots, and also full band, grooving. You know, face melting stuff. Is that a good term? Or?
How much does the people you collaborate with, the kind of ad hoc bands you find yourself in, how much do they influence your music in terms of what you're writing and the themes that you're writing, or is it more of is it this kind of a personal thing, and then you invite friends in to kind of share that with them?
I'd say it's definitely a mixture of both, because sometimes I'll have a direction I want to go in a song, and even if like everything else is recorded except for the guitar lead, he might come in and do something that I never really thought of, and so it almost like just angles it in that direction more. And you know, that can really be, you know, per musician, because I recorded with the violin player recently too, and it's just like you just take the song to a different place that I didn't know it could go, you know, or initially didn't have it planned or something. But yeah, I definitely say it's a mixture of both. Like I like to at least well, if the musician has like he's standing his own ground and obviously has their own style to bring to the table, I'm definitely going to acknowledge it and be open to receive it into my music. If that's yes.
But you're not a micromanager. You don't have like a vision, and you need the people around you to realize that vision. You are open to things being adapted or tweaked and made into something you maybe didn't have in mind.
Yes, and one thing I really love doing, I love putting out multiple versions of the same song. Like I put out a single of No Reason to Stop. The main one's like, it almost reminds me of like a Doors, Allman Brothers. It's got an organ, funky blues thing. But then there's another version where I'm doing this. It's just one-man band version, obviously acoustic and stomping. And then we did this almost like punk blues version, same song. And he starts ripping these solos. It's like honestly like an Eddie Van Halen playing the blues. Like, so I love putting that out all as one. Like, you take your pick of which one you like. Like, maybe predominantly I like the funky Doors, Allman Brothers blues one, but either way, you know, it just, I guess like in the process again of recording it, you kind of figure out which one resonates with you the best. So
right, and
alternate versions. So.
As you said before, you've gone from doing like 150 shows a year, being full-time musician is like, you know, your profession, to just a trickle. It does look like the end now is in sight, potentially. Fingers crossed. Who knows? I'm sure I've said this before, although not for many months. So what's the plan for you this summer going forward and pushing this record out? Have you kind of got all those shows kind of lined back up again?
I don't have a whole lot booked. There's a few outdoor performances this summer, and I'm kind of like actually right around now is when a lot of places are getting back or confirming and whatnot. But at the same time, with doing the more recording angle, I'm almost like intrigued to like kind of go in that direction more, because I've actually like, you know, obviously thanks to you guys, but along with a lot of other radio stations, I've been like independently connecting with more stations, getting more airplay, kind of getting better at the social media aspect and whatnot. So, who knows what the future holds, but I guess in a sense, you know, when you play as many shows as I used to, and it was almost like, it was always a consistency of working and staying booked, you end up playing some shows where you're not always there for the original music, you know, you're kind of in the corner sort of thing, but it's like, I guess in like with all this time off, it's kind of giving me perspective to be like, you know, maybe I should work towards like playing those original shows where whether it's people are playing a cover or they're just there because they love your music, as opposed to, you know, a bar show like playing covers sort of thing. Not that I have anything against that. It's just maybe in a sense I did one too many of those to kind of rub you the wrong way a little. So I think that's where my focus is kind of shifting, and oddly enough, I think that's where I originally kind of wanted to be, you know, when I started all this like many years ago. So I guess it's getting back to that, figure out, you know, I don't know, the professional process and learning the industry too. You know, it's a whole nother learning this madness of music industry.
Yeah, and it's multifaceted and many pitfalls there. But I'm glad that you've taken this time to kind of really realize what it is that you want to do as a musician. So that's great.
Yeah, I'm grateful. To have the time. Well, in a sense, I mean, I do miss working for sure, but it's a good thing in some ways. So.
Yeah, no, it definitely seems to have given you perspective. It seems to have given a lot of musicians perspective. So I'm really hopeful about what's going to come out this summer and fall and into next year, because I think we're probably going to get blown away by the amount of creativity that has been like bottled up this past 12 months.
Locked away.
And I think people are going to be, whatever shows there are, people are going to be that much excited to hear them and see them, and that's, who knows,
I am so excited for the first crappy indie band that I see half drunk at the back of Nectar's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. First open mic,
right.
amateur open mic out, whatever.
Yeah, I'll be down at the front, I'll be screaming, it was going to be great. Well, it's about all we got time for, but we really love another song. Before you play that though, please plug all the things that you have out on the internet right now that people need to go to and listen to your music at.
Let's see. You can find everything jacobgreenmusic.com. And then, of course, I guess I'm most active on Facebook. So Facebook.com/JacobGreenMusic. It's, green like the color, no E at the end. The YouTube channel is some crazy numbers, but you can find that through the Jacob Green Music. Obviously, the Instagram/Jacob Green Music. So, and I got a lot of cool merch right now, a lot of cool T-shirts, and an awesome comic book. So, and a CD to sell if people have CD players in their car and whatnot. So.
And Nathan, I can't let you go without plugging your crazy space music, as Jacob called it. So where do we go to find your music?
You can find me right now on bandcamp.com/Nathan Michaud. Facebook as well. It's Nathan Michaud at Music Maker for Life. Don't bother with the YouTube. I haven't really gone there yet. I'm a little older. It's saturated.
Right.
And hopefully I'll be putting out another project under a totally different name here soon. Looking to get out Planet 9 shortly.
All right. Well, once that gets released, give Bob a shout, and we'll bring you on as a solo artist, or if you do have a band that goes with you.
I do it all myself.
Yeah,
Cool.
you should. Bring in his loop thing and his MIDI madness.
I would love that. So yeah, give us a shout when that's ready. Well, what song have you got to play us out this evening?
Should we do one more? Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. I'm gonna do one. This is dedicated to the local farmers, and this one turned out really cool. It kind of has a southern rock feel to it. It's called "Family of Farmers." Farmers, sharecroppers, and gardeners. For the longest time I was claiming fame. Through the generations, farming life has faded. I'm here to take back my family's name. Well, I grew up with a cornfield in my backyard. To that local farmer I would disregard. Ran through the corn, getting past the slice. Another short of paradise. I never knew the sacrifice of the farmer. Now hazardous pesticides contaminate what's left outside. Now my mama can't drink her own water. Yeah, I know I would all wanna see such change. Sometimes I think we need to get back where we can. Let's call my family, be farmers, sharecroppers, and gardeners. For the longest time it was plain fame. Through the generations, farming life is faded. I'm here to take back my family's name.
swore she'd never pick cotton again. Go back to the days living off cheap cornbread. Well, Granny, when you put it that way, what else can I say except the local farmer dying day by day? A cash crop for generations, skin taken by corporations. I pray strength and patience, but not to come. Try to keep myself in pursuit, try to get back to my roots of my family, where we all came from. As from a family of farmers, sharecroppers, and gardeners. For the longest time was a plan to fame. Through the generations, farming life is faded. I'm here to take back my family's name. What's your name? Farmers, sharecroppers, and gardeners. Now for the longest time was a plan to fame. Through the generations, the farming life is faded. I'm here to take back my family's name. As from a family of farmers, sharecroppers, and gardeners. For the longest time was a plain thing. Through the generations, farming life is faded. I'm here to take back my family's name.
Jacob Green and Nathan Michaud.
Close enough.
Michaud. Nathan Michaud there with Family of Farmers. Guys, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for
evening.
having us.
Hey, thanks for having us. First show of the year.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm glad we are. I'm glad we're the first show of the year for you. I hope you have many, many more this year.
Thank you.
Most definitely.
And Nathan, be sure to come back in once you've got your next project out. That'd be great.
Love it.
So coming up next week, we got Troy Millette. But for tonight, this has been 105.9 The Radiator, The Rocket Shop. I have been your host, Tom Proctor, and good night.